I'm about to start my biggest project yet, and I absolutely cannot wait. You might have noticed all of this blue wool that I have put up to make scaffolding for the framework of my new factory. It has been sitting here for a few weeks with a bunch of stuff that has been going on IRL inside of my life, plus all of the immense amount of materials that I had to gather in order to get this thing onto the server. But all of the materials are finally gathered, and we are ready to start working on this thing. A huge thank you to all of the other members that helped me gather up all of the materials, because there was a lot of them. And let's just say next time I might not build it out of bricks. What I have pictured inside of my head here is going to be a massive old style factory with some tanks inside of the front here, a bunch of brickwork, and a bunch of machinery inside with some walls and stuff dividing it. We also have all of the windows and the doors marked out by all of the stone that's up top there. And I think whenever it all comes together and gets on the server, it's going to be absolutely amazing. So without further ado, let's get started on my biggest time lapse yet. Let's go! After almost 12 hours of building, the factory's here. It is actually on the server, and I am super excited to show you guys. However, before we get into that, let's take a quick word from our sponsor, me. Did you know that I recently opened up a Patreon? This Patreon allows me to keep this channel making videos because of the reoccurring or the one-time financial support of my community. Becoming a Patreon also gives you a ton of awesome perks, such as early release videos, access to Patreon-only Discord channels, access to my Patreon-only Minecraft Bedrock survival server, and more. You even get your name on that Patreon appreciation page at the end of each video. Are you tight on funds? There's still a way that you can support the channel for free. By subscribing, liking, or leaving a comment, this tells the YouTube algorithm to show my videos to new people and help me reach my 1,000 subscriber goal. I do also have a public section of my Discord that is free to join for anybody. Feel free to join if you want to meet a ton of awesome like-minded people inside of a community that I am proud to be part of. Now enough jibber jabber, let's get back to the video. Back to you, Built. Thanks, RS. Now let's take a look at that beautiful factory. Flying down from above, you can see just how absolutely massive this factory actually is, and now you can see why it took so long for me to actually bring this onto the server, because it is absolutely huge. Flying over here to the very front of it, this is going to be the front door, and yes, I know it does kind of look like a little lopsided face, and yes, I am totally fine with that. Kind of reminds me of a creeper. But we are going to have a 4x4 gravity door here, and the gravity door is actually going to consist of anvils. See, you can drop the anvils up and down and over, and if you do it the correct way, it actually does not damage the anvil, and it will allow it to go up and down, meaning that the gravity door will last forever, and it will really add a really cool design to fit right in with what I have going on here. Walking into the factory, you can see that we have a ton of room in here for activities. However, you might notice that I don't have any floors yet. I need your opinion on the floor. Let me know what you think I should put in here, if I should just go for the factory style smooth stone floor, or if I should be putting in a mixture of maybe checkered blocks, or I could do some kind of extravagant floor. There is a ton of possibilities, or I could even do a mixture of all of those. So let me know what you think inside of the comments below, and let me know what you think I should do. Another thing that I'm going to need opinions on is if I should double wall this, kind of like I did with the smeltery. See, it looks really cool like this, but if we added double walls to it, I think that it would add a lot more depth to it. That way, instead of just having bars, we could maybe do bars or glass, or maybe even just inset the bars slightly deeper. However, there are pros and cons to that, because pros, we are able to detail it more, but the cons are that we will actually be losing some space inside of here. Because if we add another 1-block wall to the pre-existing walls, then those would be added on the inside, so you would effectively shrink the entire area in here by 2. 1 wall on each side, of course. As you can see, I added kind of like stained windows to the ends of each side of the building, and there's 3 of those in total to kind of let some light come in. And if you actually see this in RTX, the ray tracing has the lights coming in, and it does really look cool, so I'm looking forward to kind of playing around and experimenting with that in the future. However, if you look straight up, it looks like that is just an open skylight, but if you look very, very closely, I mean very, very closely, there is actually black tinted glass there that actually stops all of the light from coming in, so it kind of gives a really nice effect. However, it keeps it dark at the same time, which darkness is probably not a good thing because we have zombies spawning in here. Now, as open as this place is, I am going to be sectioning this off and putting different rooms here and there's going to be a ton of different mechanical things inside of here. You know, all of the stuff that makes up a factory. And whenever we do that, I don't think it's going to be as opened up as it is right now, but it's going to add a lot more going on and a lot more interest to the build. Plus, the whole reason why we're doing this, functionality. Working our way around the backside as the sun sets behind us, you can see that we have a absolutely huge smokestack here. And every factory needs a huge smokestack. Now, I know that my smokestack is floating on some dirt that is also floating. It's totally fine. I'm going to fix it, but there is still a ton to do. So if we take a look at the back of the smokestack, you can see that we have a maintenance ladder going all the way up the top of it. And we also have a nice wooden deck that goes all the way around here, which is an awesome touch and kind of breaks up the different materials that's used to build the smokestack. We also have smoke coming out of the top of it because it is a real working smokestack. And if that smoke gets you excited, well, don't let it get you too excited, because as soon as you go down here and you look up inside of the smokestack, there ain't nothing in here and it don't work. But that's okay, because there will eventually be stuff inside of here and it will eventually be awesome. Working our way around the back side of the factory here, we can go to the side here, and I have some future plans for here. I'm thinking maybe a port that we can maybe have a container ship or something like that. We might even have to make this a little bit larger to accommodate that. However, we would have some type of port to bring all of the materials over to the factory. If we come over here to the side of the factory, you can see we have a nice loading dock with an overhang, and it even comes complete with 2 sliding doors. These sliding doors are of course on rollers, and well, they don't actually move, but make pretend, guys. Use your imagination. Working back around here to the front, we have these two massive silos, which I'm sure that you did not miss. And these are actually going to be functional, and these are actually going to hold a bunch of the bulk materials that's going to be required in order to run this factory, which I think is going to be an awesome touch, and we're going to need a lot of materials, so it's always good to have extra space to store those. Now we still have a ton of stuff to do to this factory, including texturing the roof and of course terraforming. Now give me a break, guys. I know that the floor's not done, but at least the back's done. So for now, we are done with the factory, but do not worry because there is an absolute ton that we're going to have to do to it in upcoming episodes, so you'll definitely be seeing a lot more of this. However, for now, we need to head over underneath the smeltery because I've been doing some stuff off of camera and ended up building something on stream the other night that I would like to show you guys. So we'll just head over to the smeltery and... oh, tree! Oh man, that hurt. Who put that tree there? Definitely going to have a headache from that one. Ow. Now, if you have been watching the series for a little bit, then you are probably more than familiar with the smeltery here. And if you remember several episodes ago, I actually ended up plumbing all of the lava farm from the Pigco over there all the way over to here. But it was kind of a big ordeal because I had to put an intermediate station due to them being several chunks apart. That way we did not run into unloading issues. Well, we ended up transferring lava back and forth, and it does work great. However, I wanted to design a new lava farm anyways, so I ended up building a new lava farm, and I ended up building it below here. That way we didn't have to transfer everything back and forth, and this has its own dedicated lava farm now, and then Pigco will have the old one that it will use by itself. However, if you need to, you can always transfer the lava back and forth. So if we go down to the super smelter room that is directly below the smeltery, you might remember the super smelter here, and yes, there's a ton of lava there. We'll get to that in a minute. And then this was all of the redstone and stuff that was back down and underneath. So in order to transfer the lava and the buckets back and forth, you had to go to this one, which is marked first, and stand on this until that light goes out. Then you had to go over to Pigco, stand on another one, and wait until it was done over there. Then you had to come back over here and stand on a third pressure plate up there in order to transfer all of the lava buckets over here. So yeah, a lot of doing that got very tiring very quickly. So now, needless to say, we don't have to wait anymore. Oh, you think that's a lot of cauldrons? Oh no, this is like a Billy Mays commercial. But wait, there's more. 464 cauldrons. Yes, this is a double stack full piston feed tape that is 16 blocks wide, and it has 464 cauldrons that will all simultaneously fill with lava, excluding these on the end. I do believe it's like 380 something that fill at one time. Whatever the number was, it is a lot, and a lot is exactly what we need because that super smelter above us excuse me, mega smelter above us uses a ton of lava. 72 of them to be exact. I just counted. Every single time you smelt something. That's a lot of lava. So over here we have the empty buckets, and you can switch whether or not you want the empty buckets to go to this one here, which is local, or you can switch to where the empty buckets will actually return to Pigco in the event that you actually want to send the buckets back that way. However, both of these are fully stocked up with empty buckets, so there's really no need to ever transfer anything back and forth anymore. Over here I just started decorating with some stone block. Yeah, I know I do need to add some texturing, but this is all pretty much base that I was kind of messing around with earlier before I started recording. But it is actually really cool how this works, and I will be doing a tutorial eventually on this. I don't know how soon it will be, but I'm going to be doing a master level lava farm tutorial for it, because let's face it, this thing really needs to be shared to the community. But it did also come up with a few different challenges as well. I originally had this designed to where I would have a minecart going back and forth, but the minecart was much too fast to go by and not take all of the lava out of the cauldrons at one time. And it ended up missing a bunch of cauldrons, and I just really was not happy with the result. So then I ended up designing this system here. And this design is a really unique design that I came up with, and it took quite some time to figure out and put together. Now this is not actually going to dispense any of the empty buckets because I have this set up to the silos outside, which is actually full. So whenever the silos are full, it has a redstone line that runs back here and basically turns off the empty buckets to where it's not going to dispense anymore. That way you can't have any more empty buckets to fill up lava and overflow the silos with the lava buckets. So I think the best way to show you guys this is to just throw an armor stand inside of there. Now make pretend that armor stand is a player that is facing towards those cauldrons holding down the scoop button. Now whenever he's going back and forth, this is going to be dumping out a ton of buckets very quickly. Now depending on which way the water is going, it's actually going to push those buckets. And if they don't get picked up by the player, they're going to be picked up by the hopper and then stored inside of those barrels there. And then if it's going this direction, same thing's going to happen. It's going to be picked up by those hoppers and stored in that barrel there. Both of these barrels are connected to basically recirculate into this dropper here. Alright, let me get rid of him real quick because he's no longer needed. If you haven't noticed, we have another stream here. This stream is basically for all of the lava buckets to fall down into. This stream will drop all the lava buckets down that hole, which then lead down into another stream, which will then take it all the way up to the silo in order to store all of the lava buckets. And yes, it is a large amount of storage. Once the silo is full, then it will basically wait to be loaded into the super smelter whenever it is needed. However, whenever you AFK at this farm, what you're going to want to do is fill up your entire inventory full of stuff that are not empty buckets. You are going to have one stack full that is dedicated for the empty buckets, and you are going to put it on your hotbar and then select that. Then you are going to jump down here and basically scoop up all of these. But as you can see, it's actually putting it back inside the inventory right now. That is because I have room for the buckets to go inside of here. However, if I did not have room, then it would throw that bucket up against there. Then it's just going to go down into that stream and make its way to the silo. Because you're practically going to have 16 inside of your inventory at all times from this thing constantly dispensing empty buckets, you're never going to have to worry about running out unless this totally runs out of buckets or unless the machine shuts off. However, whenever this thing is full, it not only shuts off the empty buckets down there from flowing, that way you cannot overflow the silo, it will actually also sound this alarm, which will sit here and basically just go crazy until you come over here and hit this reset button. As soon as you hit that reset button, it's going to turn off the alarm. However, it will not allow the empty buckets to flow until the silo actually drops below a predetermined amount. As far as the inner workings go, I just have some waterlogged stairs, and I wanted to kind of pull these stairs down and then push them back up whenever they were waterlogged, but because of Bedrock, I'm not able to do that because as soon as you move a water source block that is waterlogged, well, it kind of deletes the water inside of it and then it does not work. So I ended up having to opt to do this, which just has a block that comes up and blocks the water from flowing out. So basically what happens is this stream is going to push us all the way down, where we're going to go underneath this observer, and if you look very closely, we have a string there which allows it to be triggered. As soon as that string is triggered, it's actually going to push a block up in front of here and pull one down here. And since this is all configured correctly, it's going to allow it to push us all one direction. However, here I'm going to stop, and I found out that that's because I have depth strider boots on, so if you take those boots off, it will allow you to be pushed across that ice gap and keep on going. As soon as we hit that string on this side, it's going to do the same thing, pushing a block up, pulling one down, and changing the direction of the stream. Clever, huh? I thought so. So if you're interested in seeing any of the redstone bits down below, this is what we have, and as you can see, it's pretty straightforward and fairly simple. We have the pistons, and depending if they're powered or unpowered, that's when they're going to pull the block down or push the block up, and that's basically how we're controlling the water streams. We have down here a pulse extender. This pulse extender will basically push that observer clock together and allow this dropper chain to drop a bunch of buckets going up into those water streams. And this has to be on a clock with a pulse extender because we don't want it to run all of the time, because then we're going to run into a bunch of buckets up top exceeding the hopper speed, and then that's going to make a bunch of the empty buckets despawn, which is definitely not good. Then over here we also have some more gizmos and gadgets, which all in all just make it work. We have a skulk sensor down here. This skulk sensor is responsible for sending the signal to dispense all of the empty buckets. So whenever this piston moves, it's going to send out a signal which is detected by that, and that's what's going to set off the empty buckets being dispensed. Which, if you have not noticed, there's no switches in here to turn this thing on. It is fully automatic. You literally jump in the ice stream, get you some empty buckets, and go to scooping. And whenever you're done, you jump out of it and walk away. Then you don't got to worry about anything breaking. As far as the back goes, this is all a very simple piston feed tape. And then we just have one observer on each bank of pistons, which is responsible for circulating this thing all the way around. And then we have the bank of piston down here, which is the master bank, and that's going to be responsible for actually setting the whole thing into motion. If you don't quite understand what I'm saying and you would like to, I have a totally new series where I actually teach redstone. It's called the School of Redstone. Check it out. I'll link it down inside the description, and I'll even put a card in the top right. Well guys, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. I really wanted to do a little bit more inside of this episode, but I have run out of time. So let me know what you think about this lava farm, and let me know what you think about the factory. I am super excited to hear from you guys and hear what you think about those. Until then, all of the links for everything that you need will be down inside the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.